Let's talk about homelessness, people getting evicted from their homes. Now, there's a difference between someone who's surfing on a sofa, people who are sleeping on the streets, or people who just get evicted because they can no longer afford their rent, or their landlord decides that actually they no longer want them there because they want to rent out to someone else, possibly on a higher rent. Well, one of the people you might have thought wouldn't do that is Rushanara Ali. She's a government minister. Indeed, she's the Labour Party's Homelessness Minister. She's been known in her political life for her fight against private renters being exploited, those are her words, and championing reform against what she calls unreasonable rent increases for those who are stuck in the rental market. And yet it's now emerged that she evicted 4 tenants from one of the 2 houses that she rents out herself to make money. And then immediately after they were ousted, upping the monthly rent by £700. Yes, really. Well, let's talk about this right now with James Hummerstone-Pope. He's a housing expert and an estate agent. A very good afternoon to you.
Hi, how are you?
Thanks for joining us. I'm very well, thanks.
My pleasure.
I mean, this is just classic hypocrisy from a politician, particularly a Labour politician, bleating away about how terrible life is for renters because they're being exploited by these evil landlords, and then being a landlord, you know, giving them, I think they got 4 months' notice. They weren't like turfed out overnight, but given 4 months' notice because basically she wanted to put the rent up.
I mean, you can't write it, and that's what makes me smile with these things, because you know, you've got someone there who's advocating, you know, pushing for renters' rights, talking about equality and being fair, but on the flip side is doing something, quite frankly, totally against what she preaches about. It's comical.
Well, we've even had some people, some Labour MPs, I think, who've been sort of slammed as being slum landlords for some of the state of the properties that they've been looking after, you know, they've been owning. Look, there's a lot of money in renting out, and the governments over the years have tried to take a lot of that profit out of it. And a lot of people will say, you know, they don't want people to be making money from renting out properties. People should, you know, be able to afford to buy them. The reality is a lot of people aren't in a position to buy anything. They're not settled down somewhere. We need a rental market. But what rights do renters currently have? Because there is a difference, isn't there, between, you know, someone in their 20s wanting perhaps a 6-month lease, they don't know where they're going to be working, and someone who, and it's often now the case, people in their 30s or 40s, 50s, who've got family, got kids at a local school, who do want to have a longer lease and want to have some sort of security.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the moment, there are a range of options for tenants and landlords that are currently on the market. And you have got those tenancies that are 6 months, and then they roll into periodic tenancies after that, which just means that it's month in, month out rolling. Both sides can give notice at any point. But there are the options whereby some people can, with the agreement on both sides, tie in for much longer periods of time. You know, my other half currently rents a property. Their tenant is currently signed into a contract for 3 years. They know they've got security for that 3-year period, and they've already, you know, openly expressed the fact that they want to stay. So there are options as long as that communication is open and upfront right at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, some people, again, they don't want the long lease. Some people do. But then there's also the issue of landlords' rights, isn't there? I mean, seems to me, you know, you own the property, you've got a contract with somebody, you've got the right under the law, what as exists, to give notice and say, well, actually, you know, my kids left university, I want to let them live in that flat. Or, I need, my mortgage has gone up. I mean, most people who rent out properties aren't big corporations making a fortune. It's one person who's bought a property as an investment for their, you know, their retirement income, and they rent that one property out, but they've often got a mortgage. Their mortgage has gone up, they need to get more income, they say, well, I'm going to have to put the rent up, and if you can't afford it, I have to evict you. I mean, at the end of the day, people who rent out properties, who own properties, they should have the right to decide who live in them, shouldn't they?
Absolutely, they should have that right. You know, also, as you've mentioned there, a lot of landlords are what we would call accidental landlords. They never went into the rental sector to be landlords. They had a property they couldn't sell. They were in a fortunate position to rent it. Yeah. Brilliant. They need to cover their costs. Not all landlords, as you've mentioned, are big corporations that can swallow the increases on mortgage payments. We've seen mortgage payments shoot through the roof for most families across the UK. Those landlords need to be able to cover that. So if rent needs to increase, they need to be able to claw back that cost.
And people have a right to charge the local market rent. I mean, we don't require, you know, Sainsbury's to sell milk at a certain low price, even though everyone else, every other supermarket has. But here's the thing: this all comes down to, it's been the mantra of my show for many more years: build more houses. If you know, you wouldn't have such a waiting list for the council properties if people could afford private rents. That you wouldn't have so many people who can't afford private rents you couldn't afford to buy if people didn't have such high prices. We we do not have enough supply of housing that people want and can live in compared to the demand. It's that simple.
It's as simple as that, black and white. We do not have enough housing stock across the UK. And a shocking stat that people will not know until today, or a lot of people won't know until today, is that in the private rented sector, currently in 2025, the vast majority, the average rent on take-home salary that's paid out is 41%. So 41% of your take-home salary is currently being paid on rent.
Yeah, and you've got nothing to show for it. You might as well have a big mortgage, but at least they've got property to show for it at the end of it. They've got nothing to show for it. No, it's an absolute disaster. And again, people wonder why they haven't got money to go and spend in other areas of the economy. It's a disaster on every single front, our housing policy. It really is. James Hummerstone-Pope, so appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much, Steve, for that. Benjamin Butterworth, I mean, look, you are one of the people who were dealing with that for many years.
Yes, and I'd just point out, you compared it to, we don't set prices for supermarkets, but if we had the same approach to food sales as we do to housing, we'd be living in a famine, and a pint of milk would cost £5, right? Because we have so many rules to stop building anything that's how we
even where people desperately cry out for homes. And what annoys me is when people say, oh, I don't want my house price to go down, but I can't understand why my kid can't buy a house in the local area. Pick a side, guys.